All right, in this video, 8th grade, we're going to be talking about the different reading strategies that all good readers do. A lot of this you will have heard before, but again, it might look different in 8th grade. So the first thing I want to talk about is determining the meaning of unknown words. You will be assessed on this very quickly and throughout the rest of the year. Instead of going to the dictionary, when you come across a word you don't know, we like to encourage using context clues. That means using the words around the word you don't know to try to figure out what that word means. It's much more efficient. If you're reading a story and you know every single word, it's probably not a good story or novel for you or story for you. You should come across words you don't know while reading. So here's how context clues work. Here's a sentence that you might come across with a word you don't know or may not know. The town planted many coniferous trees around the park, including pines, firs, and spruces. I might not know the word coniferous. I know what a pine is. I know what a tree is. I think I know what a fir is. These are the types of trees, if I'm remembering right, that stay green all year. They don't lose their needles. They kind of look like huge Christmas trees. So I'm assuming that a coniferous tree is that type of tree, a large Christmas tree that stays green all year. Again, I might be right, I might be wrong. As I continue to read, the text might give me more clues onto what this word means. Here's another example. Metropolitan areas such as Chicago and its suburbs are inhabited by large numbers of people. I might not know what the word metropolitan means, but I know what Chicago is. I know where it is. I know it has a large population of people. It even says it later on in the sentence here, large numbers of people. So I'm going to assume that a metropolitan area is a city that has a lot of people in it. Did you see how I used the words around the word I didn't know to figure out what that word meant? That's called context clues, and you're going to be asked to do that shortly. Every story has a theme. Plot, that I talked about in the first video, is the events of the story. It's what happened. It's what happened first, next, last in a story. Theme is a little bit different. Theme is the meaning behind or revealed by the story. It's sometimes defined as the moral or the life lesson. What's great about theme is you and I could read the same story and get totally different themes out of it, and we're both right. The key to theme is having textual evidence to back up your reason. So what I mean by that is whatever you decide the life lesson of the story is, whatever the theme is, whatever the moral of the story is, you are right as long as you can back it up with text, with evidence from the text. If you don't have evidence from the text, you have nothing. So you might as well have a blank answer there. You have to have textual evidence to support your reason. Here are some examples. Cheaters never win. Love conquers all, and slow and steady win the race. If we talk about Cinderella, maybe the theme of that story that I get out of it is that love conquers all. By the end of the story, she's found love. She's gone through all of these obstacles and barriers, and she finally has found true love, and that's the theme for me. Just an example. Good readers will make a movie in their head while they read. I know you've heard visualizing before. They try to picture to the best of their ability what the author is talking about. As the text changes, so will your movie in your head as the author gives you more and more clues as to what's going on. This is a good indication of whether or not you're reading close and careful. If all of a sudden your movie stops or your movie doesn't make sense in your head, it's probably a good indication that you didn't understand and you should go back and reread or read slower. If your brain starts to wander, you start to think about what you're doing over the weekend or what your friend's doing. Once you see that you're not visualizing anymore, it's a good indication that you're not reading close and careful. And we're going to talk about close and careful reading a lot. So as you're reading, make sure you're visualizing, and this is something you're going to be assessed on. Good readers should be able to remember what they read, be able to comprehend what they're reading. They should know the text well enough to be able to retell a short, quick version of what they read. This is often called a summary. I'm sure you've heard of it. In 8th grade, when I'm grading summaries, I'm looking for the 5 W's. The who, what, when, where, and why of a story. This seems easy enough. You just have to tell me what happened and what happened to who and when and where. But a lot of times students forget the when and they forget the why. These 3 are much easier for whatever reason. Don't forget the when. Tell me when the story took place. That's part of the setting. And don't forget the why. What happened and why? Why do we care about it? When you're writing summaries, I'm going to talk about the 5 W's. So jot that in your notebook so you don't forget. Good readers are going to connect what they read to their own experiences. You'll have to do this right away and throughout the rest of the year. What you're reading to something else you read. That's text to text. What you're reading to something that happened to you. That's text to self. What you're reading to what you saw like on the news or read in the newspaper or something that happened to your neighbor. These are things you're going to be asked to do. Good readers will make connections to what they read. Text to text, text to self, text to world are the 3 types of connections I'm going to be asking you to make this year. That's the end of the presentation, guys. So in your notebook, would you please jot down any questions that you have so that I can answer them whole group when we talk about this tomorrow.